Very cold here as well, my friend. I want to thank you for taking time to speak with me today.
No problem, and it's thanks to you.
I wanted to ask about the story behind the album and how long did it take to put the material together for you?
Let me think for a moment. For this album, I think I got the idea for the album in around 2018 when I was driving in northern Finland. I got this idea of well, two brothers dueling each other in a snowy field in a dark Finnish forest, and that's basically the foundation upon which I based this whole album.
I wanted to ask you about one of my favorite tracks, which is Betrayer. I wanted to ask if you could tell me how that came to you lyrically.
Yeah, that one. First of all, cool. It's awesome you like that one. It was surprisingly difficult to write musically. The theme itself, I think it was kind of combination of I wanted to too many things. My
Would you?
apologies for taking that long. Basically, I wanted to convey the emotion of how it would feel from perspective of a person who just burned down their whole village simply based on the anger and jealousy.
Another one of the tracks that really sticks out to me is In the Graveyard. I wanted to ask you if you could speak on that track as well.
Ooh, that one. That's awesome. Awesome one to play. Um,
Yes.
it that's the song of basically delving into the madness, the grief of the deeds the protagonist committed. Is it's and I wanted to imagine the feeling of being isolated on a in a dark Finnish forest once again during a cold winter night when all the thoughts you have nothing to do, only your thoughts of grief there to keep you company. And I think we nailed that feeling somewhat at least.
I wanted to ask you as well if you could speak on the album artwork and the artists involved because it's very immersive to the album.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm sure the artist appreciates that. Mm, What we wanted to, we had seen these classical era Finnish paintings that usually have these old Finnish landscapes, farm landscapes, etc. And we wanted to bring that feeling to the artwork. We wanted it to feel like it was painted in the classic era, but well, that's the story of this album.
You've you released this amazing album. I wanted to ask you, what is the next step for you? What can fans look for next? Will you um, do video work? Will you go to the road? What lies ahead for you, my friend?
Ah, it's a little combination of all of these. First of all, we're setting up some gigs here in Finland and hopefully the neighboring countries. And okay, maybe I can reveal that we are already working on the second album. We are halfway on the pre-production. Just yesterday we had a songwriting session and it's going to be pretty awesome. And naturally, we're hoping to create some more music videos at least, maybe refine our style there a bit better. But let's see what we can come up.
And if you don't mind me asking, could you give me a little hint of the feel of the album? Does it feel in the same vein of this album, or does it feel like it's taking a step on broader horizons?
Hmm. I'd say musically it's gonna be more refined. We are basically taking what we have. We have a good thing going on now, so we don't want to change that too much, and we want to take it next step just a bit further, refine the sounds themselves, and thematically, I wanted to do a bit, maybe it's weird to say a bit lighter, but have a little broader sweep of the themes we want to employ. The first album was basically a enclosed story with a beginning, middle, and end. This next one is more like different sneak peeks into different stories and more into the deep feeling of what is it to be Nordic. What's the culture there? What's the overall feeling?
I wanted to ask you as well, how did we get here? How did the band become a reality?
Ooh, this is gonna be a long one. um, First of all, I think this began back in 2010, back when I was just a guitarist, and we had a different vocalist, and we formed this band. Well, we even started with a different name. We started with Wayfarer, and even in 2010, when you Googled that name, you got not only some sunglasses, you also got like 47 different bands.
Sure.
So, so I mistyped Wayfarer as Warfare, and that was decided. Then we created a small demo that's still available somewhere on the internet, and then the life got somewhat on the way. We moved to different cities, we studying, etc. Then I ended up in Tampere, and I was the only original member. Oh, it's a long story, so I missed something. Before I ended up in Tampere, I met our current keyboardist, Tuomas, back when I was studying music tech. And as my, so to say, graduation work, I made that EP that was released in 2017, I think. And after that couple of years finding the right people, we finally found the correct people to work with us, and we refined our working process and finally got in the studio.
I wanted to ask you as well, my friend, could you speak to me about your musical development? At what age did you begin?
Sure, that's something I haven't talked in a while. I think I began when I was 15, and I remember how it began because I was in a plane traveling. I don't remember from where to when, but I was traveling. I was listening to Nightwish and Rhapsody on CD. It was the time of CD players, and I thought about their music. Not only was it awesome, but I thought this can't be so difficult to create. I can do this too. I can play these songs too, and that's what inspired me to become a guitarist at first. Then I started taking guitar lessons, and a couple of years later, I also started taking singing lessons. And when I moved to a different city, I realized that we probably won't be working with the original vocalist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I started learning the harsher vocals, the metal screaming, etc. And it was basically based on my Pop Yachts music singing lessons. I was self-learned harsh singer, but I had 5 years of pop and jazz vocal lessons, so they provided me a good foundation to, well, explore my new direction.
Through those teachings, I wanted to ask you, what do you feel was the best advice given to you along the way?
Ooh. Now I really gotta think. Please give me a moment. Oh. The first thing that comes to my mind is go loud and don't be afraid. That was what my singing teacher taught me. That I was kind of shy, always kind of shy, So I needed to go loud. And it seems to have worked.
I want to ask you as well, starting in the business during the time that you did, you've seen quite a few changes in the industry. I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, do you feel that music has evolved to a better place as far as the industry, or do you think that the industry is now oversaturated by bands?
Hmm. We could say that it's, in my opinion, it's a bit of both. First of all, it's wonderful that there's people who couldn't previously reach their audience can now. That's thanks to the internet and all the easier publishing, social media, etc. Which naturally brings the other point of saturation. Then it easily gets oversaturated with, well, different stuff. But overall, I think, and well, since it's quite saturated, it's also difficult to make a living in music
Sure.
industry. It's not like, from my understanding, like 10, 20 years ago when you could easily get signed to a publisher
Right.
or distributor,
Sure.
and they'd throw some money at you, and then you'd go to the studio, and if it didn't sell, they just drop you. But nowadays, it's more like you have to build your own fan
Sure.
base at first, and then once you get a lot of traction, then someone maybe gets interested in you. And I'm not even sure if having a publisher or distributor or label is so important nowadays.
Right. I agree as well. I think it puts more money in your hands when you do make a sale. And I think though, the promotion aspect of it, I'm sure is very time consuming for an up and coming band to spend all that time on social media to get the word out, to do your own promotion, to book your own gigs and all that, I'm sure is very, very time consuming.
You're absolutely right on that. It it is time consuming and it can be exhausting, and even I have had a lot of help from one of the previous members, and it just, I feel like there's this expectation that the bands constantly produce some content, but all the content that the band produces that is not the music is always away from producing the music itself, which is the main point overall.
Sure. And I've interviewed bands that have gone to the point of releasing 2 EPs a year instead of releasing a full album just to keep that word out.
Mm, agreed. And there's this pressure of constantly releasing
Sure.
singles at like 6 weeks interval,
Yes.
feeding the algorithm.
Yes. And I try, even at doing what I do, I find myself trying to put little videos out, little small things to just keep the name out, keep the word out on my brand, the same as you do as well, and it becomes a lot of work. It really does.
Does it feel exhausting to you? Can it?
It it's really not exhausting to me because I enjoy what I do. I get constantly asked how many albums I hear a week. I probably listen to 25 to 30 new releases a week. And that's how I find the bands I interview. That's how I found you. And I try my best. I feel to separate what I feel delivers the best content musically and what I enjoy the most. From what I feel maybe didn't deliver on every aspect and didn't deliver a complete product. The reason I speak to you today is because I enjoy your album from top to bottom. We talked about a couple songs, but the full product of what you created is a great piece of work, and it deserves to be heard by everyone.
Oh, thank you from our warmest hearts and coldest hearts. Thank you. That's wonderful to hear, and it's great to hear that our efforts to create a whole package is appreciated.
Yes, and I think that's something that's missing in today's um, generations. Is we have too many people that are listening to playlists and they don't take in the full experience of what's being presented to them. You worked as hard on track 4 as you did on track 1, and it all deserves to be heard as a full product because you took time to set them tracks, to put them tracks in an order that is not only entertaining but delivers a message. And that is the part of the work of music, of producing an album, of putting an album together, is the magic of making it all work as one unit.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, and I like to add that how I got hooked into music was basically when I had the whole albums, and this was back when we didn't have any digital distribution. Like you absolutely remember the time.
Sure.
It was full albums. You had to listen to them, and you listen to them in one go, and you'd look through the booklet, you'd read the lyrics, you'd probably
Yes.
read some stories that were written there, and it was I love that immersive feeling of just getting lost in the music in my own head. That's what I've been missing, and that's what I want to deliver.
Sure. And, as much as, people want to speak of leaving a carbon footprint or anything like that behind and stuff like that, the fact of the matter is that to me, as maybe because of my age, I don't know, but for me, the album, the actual having a vinyl in your hand, you listen to that whole side before you turned it over. And I think that's when we switched from vinyl to going to, for example, CD, then we ran into problems because, especially as an artist, when you're releasing a vinyl, you have a chance to give a new presentation at the open of side 2 that you don't have when you release a CD. And so if there was a song or track that, well, this is a great opening track as well, I can slam that on side 2, or maybe it will introduce a different feel to side 2. You had that option, and now you don't. And I think that's something that a lot of artists miss.
Agreed, and that is true. And maybe another factor to this is that when you play the whole album, when you listen to it, you focused on it. When you
Mm-hmm.
put on the vinyl, it was a ritual, and
Yes.
then you focused on it. Nowadays, you're on the go and you just listen to another song from the playlist. It tends to
Mm-hmm.
lessen the
Sure.
feeling and
Absolutely.
the moment.
I wanted to ask you as well, my friend, when you're not working on music, what do you enjoy?
Ooh. I try to think when do I do anything else than do music related stuff. Admittedly, I'm a huge video gamer, and naturally I love video games, and some things from there inspire my music, especially the video game music can be
Mm-hmm.
inspiring, and that's that's mostly it. I just do real life boring work, then I do music work, then I
Yes.
exercise, and then I maybe play a bit of video games, and then it's repeat.
And getting back to the album, I wanted to ask you, what's the best way to get a physical copy of this album and any merchandise that you have?
We have our merchandise. At least we have a link for merchandise on our Facebook page, but it's kind of hidden. It's under Unomas, I think. Yeah, and our CD should be available at least in Levykauppa X and ships worldwide.
Excellent.
How do
And
I
lastly,
pronounce?
Oh, go
Sure.
ahead, my friend.
I was just thinking, how do I pronounce Levykauppa X so that it's understandable for non-Finns? Levykauppa X. Yeah, something like that.
Yes, yes. And lastly, I wanted to ask you, my friend, if you could give a message to your fans, what would that message be?
It would be something like stay cool and rock on. Because I cannot drink anything fancy and awesome and inspiring on the spot.
Well, I wanted to take a moment to thank you, my friend, for taking time to speak with me. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, my friend.
Likewise, Bob. I hope we can speak again sometime. Maybe on the next
Absolutely.
album.
Absolutely. Please feel free to keep me in touch with any new news as it comes about, my friend.
I will. I enjoyed this very much, Bob. Stay cool and thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend. You enjoy the rest of your night, my friend.
Likewise.
Cheers.
Cheers.